If you look here, like we had a really, run in like these tech names, and we haven't seen that for a huge amount of time. So that's going to be also something that we can add to our toolbox. It looks like for the moment that we've got a lot of rounding patterns in tech, and we want to probably be on top of a potential rotation if we get one. So that's going to be, man, what the fuck? That's going to be, I think, huge. This fucking computer slow today. You can see here, this is, we've got a nice bottoming pattern on all these things. So let's keep an eye on this stuff. We've got ourselves a really nice, overall location that we'll have to just be. We've got this one. We've got solar. You can see here, you got a nice bottoming pattern and really all of these. And so I think, man, we're going to have some fun because we've got a lot of stocks that are on dead bottoms where we don't have to necessarily chase like some big time breakouts or anything like that. So like let's add all of these. We got SPWR, run, which we were playing around with yesterday, regardless. Let's add those into the watch list. I think that some of these techs, like Peloton, so you've got like a nice rounding pattern on Peloton here, and there's a whole host of these that are sitting on the 200 SMA that we should be adding. Even something like a Fubo. This thing was like $60. I mean, this thing stinks to trade, but like this might be something that we can even look at for a potential swing. You got yourself a nice, easy-go-lucky pullback to 200 SMA. And once the market starts to heat up, these will be the names that start to get, picked up. We want to be looking for and running really, we have a 200 SMA scan. There's a whole host of these things that are starting to post up, and that's what I'd be personally looking for is, you want to be running in, especially if you're a swing trader, but even if you're a day trader, running in a scan for stocks that are just sitting on the 200 SMA that are a little bit oversold, I think will be good. There's going to be a lot of chatter on infrastructure also. So there's going to be some infrastructure chatter. You will probably want to be a part of like anything that's, has to do with like industrial construction. There's a whole host, like especially if you're a swing trader, you want to like kind of focus in on, some of those type of things too. You can see here like farm and heavy construction, we see your engineering and construction, like your floors, things like that. So you got like a whole host of these kind of names. I think that should come into play. You can just do a quick search through these and see what's going on. But anything like that, solars, industrial construction, roads, there's a million, not million, but there's quite a few road construction companies and railroads and stuff like that, commercial construction. Those are probably going to be some interesting names that you can be a part of. Those are probably a little bit more swing trades than maybe big day traders because those type of stocks don't have necessarily the ATR to day trade them. But then, you have your commodities plays like your U.S. Steel. Then you also have STLD. So these are like all, stocks that could run with the infrastructure stuff. But on the, tech side of things, let's go back because there's some bottoming patterns here on some stocks that, I've been eyeballing on a more long-term basis. You have a bottoming pattern on net. You have a bottoming pattern on Peloton. You have a breakout pattern on AMT, but this one is going to need a pullback, but this is going to be a hot swing trade if on the first dip from here. MU looks like it could be a breakout today, so you're starting to see, right, that rounding, that changing in tech, that's going to be huge. On top of that, the crypto market is also starting to heat up. I think we added in NEO at 47, ENJ, a whole host of these bad boys, Uh-oh, Jordan with the AYX. So I go with some of these. We were trading these battery companies yesterday. This can also, I believe, I didn't read the exact news, but most likely, how Congress typically works these days, they always stick like what they're really trying to do inside some of these bills. So probably with this infrastructure thing, they'll probably put a whole climate, battery, fuel kind of mandate rule, whatever they're trying to do, they'll sneak it in probably with the infrastructure bill. That's the only way you can get anything passed in Congress. They just obstruct each other regardless. So my guess is they're going to have all sorts of these kind of, battery, electric, conglomerate, rules in there. You see here, XPEV is running on some news that on their deliveries, they rise 487% from the year before. That's fucking, that's a lot of growth. Now, they're not selling that many cars, but still, that's a lot of growth, and that's really the only thing that really matters in trading is can you grow, can you grow, can you grow? And this thing is growing, it's a tiny company, but it's growing. It's $23 billion market cap. It's come a long ways too. You're starting to see this W action here. This is a longer term bottoming pattern too that I think is going to be, I think this is going to be in play today. So I would add XPEV, they got the news out, LI's got the same look. I always found XPEV moves slightly better than, NIO, which also has a bottoming pattern. So both of these, see these W's here? So these are double bottoms down here. Now you're remounting over these MAs. That's hot. That's hot. Add a couple of these. These things are going to be good to go. I'm going with XPEV, but frankly, when you're watching these, it's good to just kind of keep them all on a list because they tend to run together. But what'll happen is one will start to break out, and then the other one will be dipping, and then what you do is you just shake and bake from one to the other. It ends up being a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the gappers. See if we got anything up here. Alexi, what's your fave out of those? UPC jump, FTFT. This is another one. To acquire Bitcoin mining farm. So these Bitcoin mining farm kind of stocks, they're all picking up steam too. They're all picking up steam too here. Something like this might be worth a gander. My gut feeling is, if the techs are going to start coming back, we probably don't need to really watch a lot of these kind of names anymore. Funko's got a gap too on some news. It looks like they've done some kind of acquisition. The chart on this is hot though, and we've made a lot of money on Funko. Funko's been, one of our better gainers of the last couple weeks. So I keep Funko. We got the 3 Chinese names. This FTFT, these Bitcoin stocks are flying around. You've got a big breakout in Mara over here. This one probably needs to pull back at 50, but I think Riot's got a lot more room to go. You got 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests. You're at a trend line break over here. This is also, see, double bottom over here at the 50 SMA. So you got yourself a really good location. Can was being a salute yesterday, but usually the day after it's a salute that it will pick back up steam. Minus this one, 2 minutes it peaked out. It was just an inside day. You know what, if this had never broke its previous day's high, we would have been like, oh, that was really bullish, right? We would have just left it alone. Now you're starting to kind of peek its way back out over here. I think this has probably still got a chance. I think Riot's probably a little bit cleaner, a little bit less likely to shake out than Can. So that'll have to be something to just kind of be mindful of. Triple D's is also, I think, a longer term bottoming pattern. If you like tech, the two that seem to have the most upside, at least to me on first look, is DDD if you want something more speculative, and then Peloton if you want something that's a little bit a little bit heavier. I think both of those are going to have, both of those are going to have a chance. Anybody take a look at Excel earnings yet? I think they had their. Oh man, revenue rose to 10 million from 281,000. 281,000. They do less revenue than every quarter than my trading revenue. That's amazing. So at some point, so this is how it'll probably work. At some point, if the techs start to pick up, yeah, but it's a multi-billion-dollar company, so I don't know if it really matters if it rose 30 billion, 30x. If the techs start to go, then what will typically happen? They usually will probably run for a couple days. At some point when those get overbought, then the money will kind of flow into more of these. These were all, by the way, pump and dumps. I mean, SPACs in general are pump and dumps. And everybody knew they were pump and dumps even up here. I didn't think they were going to get back below their SPAC prices. But SPACs are designed to be pump and dumps. Like these things. I mean, these are companies that have like multi-billion-dollar value. Up here, they were $6, $7, $8 billion valuations, and they do hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. That's your classic pump and dump. For whoever was holding the SPACs. This is just, but they will at some point. What'll happen is when those techs get overbought, then people will come into these. In the meantime, probably the non-SPAC, EV type of companies. I think these are the ones that probably get the bid. Like this FUV, I think that one's going to have, a chance off the 200. So FUV, Fubo are my kind of 200 SMA, more spec plays, along, with Peloton. But that's more of an IRA play. And, even Blink is now that it's over the 50 SMA, will have a chance over the next couple days. So you got a lot of nice rounding patterns. I don't think we need to do any more than those because, well, frankly, every stock when the market starts to rebound, every stock's going to look good. So let's stick with these we got EVs, we've got batteries. These two China stocks yesterday were super hot. Tiger, Futu, both of these are super hot. It looks like not only have these bottomed out, but they're leading the way. So one thing to kind of be just mindful of when you're looking at, when the market starts to bounce, what are the stocks that bounce the most? What are the stocks that bounce the most? The stocks that bounce the most, they tend to have the most action in terms of long-term leadership, right? So whichever ones rip the most, those tend to be the new market leaders. So you want to start looking at some relative strength. Okay, you have a group of stocks, a sector of stocks. Which ones have the most relative strength into the new push in the market? Those tend to be the ones that run for multiple months. Vic Chopra, rides a turd. This thing's a turd. I think this is going to be similar. We just wait. It's not about trying to get at the lowest price. It's about trying to get it when it turns so that you have the most minimal risk. It does look like it's got some rounding on it. Frankly, I mean, the risk is much lower now than it was before. You're starting to round a little bit, so I think some of these, Vic, at some point are going to get picked up. The problem with Ride and also XL is that, they've been labeled as frauds. So they have a little bit more overhang on them where, some of the other ones might be a little bit, some of their, Vic. I could go out right now, get a car wrap, and show you a prototype of anything you want. Vic, I used to have 56 signed Michael Jordan basketball cards when I was 10 years old. You know how I got them? I signed them myself. You can do anything. You can do anything. I think we go batteries, they're cleaner, and then maybe future will probably fade its opening gap, and then the first dip, big dip will get bought up. FUV, these are some good locations right here. Look for any of the ones that are sitting on the 200 SMA. I think we're going to be good to go. And this Funko, I think, has a chance today. Never trust anything, Vic. If we've learned anything in this last, 1.5 months of market carnage, can't trust anything. Can't trust anything. Dun, 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 dun. I think that's it. QS is going to be bottoming out too, I think. They just did an offering, but it looks like they got the offering out of the way. You're starting to gap up here too. This one only works on pullbacks. So QS, you'll have to let it kind of play out a little bit, but it looks like dun, 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 to invest 100 million after sell pass. So it sounds like pretty good enough news. And they got their offering out of the way. Man, they got that offering out of the way cheap, huh? What a bunch of fucking scammers. Why wouldn't they try to sell these things up here? Man, who does an offering at $40? That's incredible. I think this is in play too. Add it. So we got Funko, QS got news out, FTFT got news out. Dun, 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 dun. We got batteries, and then we got our 200 SMA bounces. All of those are going to be probably really good. And then you got these EV companies that are pop-a-locking. We add in a couple solars, and man, we're in the game. I don't think we need much more than that. Definitely keep some big cap tech on for potential remounts and swing trade, right? Swing trade type of ideas, especially in your IRAs and stuff. Typically, when you get these kind of growth stocks, if you're at 500, you retrace back down to 330. That's a good 40% pullback. That'll usually do the job. That'll usually do the job. Get those, to get that thing going. But so we got SPWR. What the fuck? Good. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Ta-da, ta-da. Okay. SPWR. Blink. Funko. All right, set up your 6-window layouts, guys. Let's make sure we got everything set up. Add in XPath, LI. We got NIO, FTFT. Sweet. I think we can get rid of some of these kind of fluffy names. I wouldn't even spend too much time on the Chinese names. Everybody wants to trade the Chinese names, but the big hairy butt of those Chinese names, the easy bounce is over on them. The easy bounce is over. So when you have an oversold stock, those first 3-4 days, those are key. If you don't start to rip in those first 3-4 days, then the oversold part of it is done. Now you're going to move on to something else. So for example, Baidu, your oversold reading triggered in here. Well, now you've popped 50. It doesn't feel like much because a lot of it was just in one swoop. You just popped $50. $50 on 173 is 30%, give or take. 33%, 25%. So that oversold bounce is over, right? Now it's into something new. So this is the list I want you guys to kind of keep through. I think we got ourselves a nice. We got ourselves some fun today. I think when the market goes really hot though, it can actually be harder than the market was a little bit slow the last few weeks, but we're still making money because there's only a handful of things moving around. When the market starts to really cook, it gets a little bit more overwhelming because frankly, everything is starting to move around, and it's like you just run out of screen space to fucking watch it all. So that'll be just something that, at least for me, like I always got to be super mindful of. I always trade better in a slightly shittier market with less opportunity, just because it takes less focus. Now you got to be, I think for the next few days, we're going to have to be really, really organized, and that makes it a little bit more tricky. But that's the list, guys. I'm sticking to it. No ifs, no buts, no ifs, no hairy butts, unless you're Indian.